Interstate 69. Yeah. Alright, we're talking about Interstate 69. We're going to talk about Texas, Mississippi, Tennessee, Kentucky, and then finish up for Evansville from Port Huron. They can make Interstate 69 as a future idea to make it go to Arkansas or Louisiana. Either way is fine. We're not talking about Interstate 69C, E, and W, because that would be stupid to do that video. So we'll talk about the original Interstate 69. Famous town: Houston, Memphis, Indianapolis, Fort Wayne, Lansing, Flint through Port Huron. So we're going to do section 1, that is Texas. Interstate 69 begins right on US Highway 59. So we're about to head into Houston, Texas. We just get no control cities for Interstate 610. So Interstate 69 and US 59 will head into downtown Houston. We get Interstate 10 westbound, signed for San Antonio. Eastbound is signed for Beaumont. Why not Baton Rouge or New Orleans? Either way is fine. Either way is a good idea. US Interstate 69 and US Highway 59 will both head into Cleveland, Texas. So no interchange for Interstate 610. Wait, no control cities. Interstate 69 gets an end in Texas, but we're going to do section 2 through Mississippi and Tennessee. In Banks, Mississippi, we get a mention for Interstate 69 northbound as we leave Tunica, Mississippi. We get no interchange for US Highway 51, so we get Interstate 55 southbound signed for Jackson, Mississippi. We get South Haven and Memphis. So that's where we're going, is Memphis, Tennessee. So we get on Interstate 55 northbound. And welcome to Tennessee. Oh boy. We get Interstate 55 northbound splitting off, signed for St. Louis, Missouri. Little Rock, Arkansas for Interstate 240. And Interstate 240 eastbound is signed for Nashville. So 69 will just head straight to meet I-40. There is a mention for US Highway 78 as we head into downtown Memphis. Now we're going to join Interstate 40. Westbound is signed for Little Rock. So eastbound gets no control city. Why not Nashville? And Interstate 69 is splitting off on Interstate 40. It is signed for Nashville now. And we get a mention for US 51 for Millington. And officially Interstate 69 ends. So now we're going to do section 3. It is Kentucky through Fulton through Henderson. Once on US Highway 51, Interstate 69 in Kentucky begins. US Highway 45 is in Mayfield. It'll head into Paducah. We get a mention for US Highway 641. US 68 is signed for Draftonville and Aurora. For US Highway 68. Now we're going to join up with Interstate 24, signed for Nashville and Henderson. Why not Evansville? So Interstate 24 westbound is signed for Paducah and Cleveland City. So we get a mention for US Highway 62. So Henderson. Why not Evansville, Indiana? Here's a look at US Highway 62, signed for Kentucky Dam. Now we're crossing the Tennessee River. Now we're crossing the Cumberland River also. Here's a look at US 62 and US Highway 641, signed for Eddyville. And I'm not going to say that word down there. Interstate 69 is splitting off on Interstate 24. We're signed for Henderson and Elizabethtown. Why not Evansville, Indiana? Or Indianapolis? Here's a look at US Highway 62, signed for Eddyville. We get no interchange for US Highway 41. Now we're splitting off from the Western Kentucky Parkway, signed for Elizabethtown and Hopkinsville. We're signed for Henderson. Why not Evansville, Indiana, or Indianapolis? Now we're about to join up with US Highway 41, signed for Henderson and Evansville, and it's signed for Morganfield. So we get US Highway 41, signed for Henderson and Evansville. So Interstate 69 northbound, Section 3 ends in Kentucky. Through Owensboro, we get a mention for US Highway 60. Interstate 69 northbound is signed for Indianapolis now. Way to go. We're now in Evansville. That's where we're going to begin now. We get Interstate 64 signed for Louisville, eastbound, and westbound is signed for St. Louis, respectfully. And 69 northbound is signed for Indianapolis now. We get US Highway 150 and 50 signed for Washington and Vincent's. We get US Highway 231 signed for Bloomfield and Crane. Now we're about to join up with Interstate 74, US 40, US 31, US 52. No, 52 we haven't joined yet. And 421 we have not joined yet. We're joining US 36, 40, and 31. So we get Interstate 74 join us. Eastbound is signed for Cincinnati, and 74 westbound is signed for Peoria. And now we're signed for Fort Wayne. Now US Highway 31 is joining us. So Interstate 65 is signed for Louisville and Indianapolis. Why not Chicago? So we're already in downtown Indianapolis. Now here's a look at Interstate 65, signed for Louisville and Indianapolis. You can put Chicago, Illinois on there. Interstate 74 is splitting off. So now US Highway 421 is joining us. And now US Highway 52 is now going to join us now. US 40 is splitting off. So Interstate 70 is getting Indianapolis. Why not St. Louis, Missouri for Interstate 70? And then we get Dayton and Columbus. That is a good choice for Interstate 70. There it is. 70 westbound should be signed for St. Louis, Missouri. So we're already in downtown Indianapolis. So eastbound is signed for Dayton. Or you can put Columbus on there too with Dayton and Columbus. Dayton and Columbus. Now US 36 is splitting off. Now we're splitting off out of Interstate 465, US 31, US 52, and US Highway 421. So Interstate 69 is signed for Fort Wayne now. We get US Highway 35 signed for Albany and Alexandria. So now US Highway 35 is joining us for now on. US Highway 35 is splitting off, signed for Gas City and Upland. Here's a look at US Highway 224, signed for Huntington and Markley. So now we're about to join up with US Highway 33 and 24. So Interstate 469 and US 33 southbound is signed for No Control City. 69 northbound and US 33 northbound is signed for No Control City also. Same as US Highway 24. US 24 is now going to join us. US 33 is splitting off, so now US 30 is going to be concurrent with US Highway 24 and Interstate 69. They're both signed for no control cities. Here's the beginning of US Highway 27. It is signed for Lima Road. Why not Decatur or downtown Fort Wayne? So Interstate 69 should be signed for Lansing. US 24 and US 30 is splitting off on Interstate 469. Now Interstate 69 northbound is signed for Lansing, Michigan. We get US 6 signed for Kendallville and Waterloo. Here's a look at US 20 signed for Angola and LaGrange. Here's a look at the Indiana Turnpike for Interstate 80 and 90 signed for Chicago and Toledo. And welcome to Pure, Michigan. Yeah! Here's a look at US 12 signed for Quincy and Coldwater. Here's a look at Interstate 94 signed for Detroit and Chicago. So we're still signed for Lansing. Yeah! Now we're going to be concurrent with Interstate 96, signed for Grand Rapids and Lansing. 96 eastbound is signed for Detroit. Here's a look at Interstate 496, signed for Lansing. Now we're splitting off with Interstate 96 westbound, signed for Grand Rapids, and we're signed for Flint. So we're now eastbound Interstate 69. Here's a look at US Highway 127, signed for East Lansing and Clare. Why not Mount Pleasant? This would be the old US Highway 27, splitting off with Interstate 69. Here's a look at Interstate 75 and US Highway 23. It is signed for Saginaw and Detroit. Now we're signed for Port Huron. Here we are in downtown Flint. We get Interstate 475 signed for Saginaw and Detroit. Now we're about to join up with Interstate 94. Westbound is signed for Detroit, and we're getting signed for Canada. So we're now in downtown Port Huron. Interstate 94 ends. Now Interstate 69 will make its final end in Canada. And Interstate 69 officially ends. So that is it for our Interstate 69 video. So we will see you all next Saturday for US Highway 41, Part 1, US 67, and Interstate 30. So thank you all for watching, and bye-bye, and don't forget, Interstate 45 will come out next Saturday. So, bye-bye.